Kia ora everyone, my name's Zach. I love rugby. Welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. Guys, emphatic win by the All Blacks, 96 points to 17. That's a record breaker. That's a statement performance. A lot of talk before the game, whether or not, given the frailties the All Blacks have showed over the 4-year cycle here, a lot of negative firsts for Ian Foster and his men. Could Italy slightly sneak a win? Look, and there was a lot of talk about that from various pockets on social media before this game. But this is an emphatic win. It puts those statements to bed. I think people that were sort of running with that narrative, it was more wishful thinking than any kind of logic or analysis around the game. And the All Blacks obviously wanted to come in and put in a performance. We saw it in the team naming that the All Blacks were targeting their best squad. And I think, worrisome for Uruguay. I think they're going to do the same in their final match of the pool play as well, because they've now got limited opportunities to build towards the quarterfinal. And that's probably another big talking point out of this game, whether or not this game was sufficient to prepare the All Blacks for a quarterfinal. They'll essentially have a training run against Italy here, a match which they should win and win comfortably against Uruguay, and then go into likely face Ireland, I should say, in the quarterfinals. So are these matches good prep? We don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only play what's in front of you, which is your best side against what in the end was actually a poor display by the Italians. This game was over at halftime. And a couple of the big talking points, I thought, great to see Aaron Smith get his hat-trick in the first half. The All Blacks were really dominant. I think it was 47-49 to 3 at halftime, which, the game was over, well and truly over at that point in terms of a contest. The All Blacks were dominating the physical exchanges, winning gain line, started to pull away in the set piece, and the Italian lineout has been good most of the World Cup, albeit a bit against lesser opposition. But the All Blacks started to really dominate that area of the game as well. The All Blacks dominated breakdown, were able to control the ball, and with that momentum, with all of that forward pressure, they're just able to find gaps in the defensive line, spread it out to the backs, and the likes of Will Jordan, Jordie Barrett had a great game. Obviously, Beauden Barrett. All of the backs just had just a field day on the back of that positive forward momentum. So there's a lot of positives that the All Blacks can take out of this, but what it means in the context of a quarterfinal remains to be seen. A couple of other talking points. I thought really interesting to see the strategy of the All Blacks focusing in and around the ruck. I thought Ardie Savea or Will Jordan, Mark Talia, there was a lot of running in and around the ruck. And I think that's going to be quite important as we look forward to the quarterfinals and what potentially awaits there. If you're challenged against the rush defence and you're unable to get outside the rush defence, then trying to collapse the defence in by finding space in and around the ruck is a really good strategy. So to see them doing that just made me think, okay, well, maybe that's something they're building towards the quarterfinal. Let's keep an eye on that. Another talking point, I thought it was interesting. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not Beauden Barrett should retain his spot at 15. He hasn't set the world alight. He's prone to some mistakes, and we saw some of those errors here. He kicked the ball out on, off the kickoff. He missed touch. There's just a couple of those little in-game errors that we see creep into Beauden Barrett's play, and the likes of the breakdown. Other podcast shows have been really questioning whether or not he should retain his 15 spot. I think that noise probably gets a little bit louder now, given some of those errors. But for me, you have to play Beauden Barrett. He's been one of the most consistent selections, and cohesion, consistency in the big games. Being able to play in the moment without worrying too much or second guessing your teammates, I think is really, really crucial come quarterfinal battle time. So let's look forward to what that result means in the context of quarterfinals, in the context of Pool A. So, France ahead, obviously they're 13 points. All teams here have, with the exception of Namibia, have one game left to play. So, New Zealand will face Uruguay. Basically, if they win that and win that well, which I think we're expected to do, the All Blacks will qualify. 15 points is the pass mark. A bonus point victory there would give that to the All Blacks. Now, I'm expecting the All Blacks will play their best squad in this match against Uruguay, namely because there are limited opportunities to continue to build cohesion and preparation for the quarterfinals. A number of players have been returning from injury. So we saw Shannon Frizzell, who had a fantastic game today, Jordie Barrett sliding back in there, Tyra Lomax in and off the bench. Those players are going to feature again. And we're going to see the All Blacks roll out their best team against Uruguay with the intent of building cohesion and building their performance and confidence leading into the quarterfinals. So I expect the All Blacks will go ahead and put an additional 5 points bonus point victory on Uruguay. And then we have Italy versus France, which is essentially a knockout match for both teams. The bottom line is if New Zealand beat Uruguay and they qualify, they automatically qualify with 5 points. 15 will get them in. If Italy beat France and France get 2 losing bonus points, they fall on 15. If Italy get a bonus point victory, they will fall on 15. And then what it'll come down to is head-to-head. You'll have 3 teams on 15 in that instance. It becomes a head-to-head results matchup, in which case all of these teams have beaten each other. And then it goes down to points difference, in which case New Zealand and France will go through. And likely New Zealand would go through as the top qualifier in that point. But let's see. The alternative is that Italy actually get a win and knock out the hosts at home. That would be a huge result. Now, on the strength of this performance, nothing suggests that can happen. But it would be the most French thing in their home tournament to dip out in pool play. Shouldn't laugh about that, but stranger things have happened. This is Rugby World Cup, and there's still a lot to play for. I guess that's probably my parting message to the Italians. You're well off the pace today. Italian fans will be extremely disappointed in that performance, but there is still one game left. And if you can get up for one game and you can win one big game, anything can happen. So good luck to the teams that remain. The quarterfinals beckon. I'm going to do quite an in-depth, deep dive on that quarterfinal exchange between the All Blacks and Ireland. We've got so many data points, so many pre-games, and we've got these teams building nicely towards that quarterfinal matchup, which is going to be an absolute ripper. I can't wait for it, and I hope you guys continue to enjoy the rugby. Talk soon. See you later.